right, everyone. I hate to say it like this, but this is literally the first shower I've had in a couple days, 2-3 days, because my water heater went out on me and it just got fixed. So I'm actually feeling pretty good right now. I know I don't look the most spiff in the world, but trust me, I feel a lot better than I did just a few hours ago before the HVAC guy came, or plumber or whatever, to fix my water heater. I wanted to talk to you about Linux. Now, the benefit of knowing Linux is that it runs 70% of the web servers out there, going back to the ARPANET days, in which the DoD, Department of Defense, would put the originating documents into the most powerful secrets in the world. So if you know Linux, then you know how most of the web servers run. Like, for example, if you know the commands. The one good thing about Linux is, for example, because it's built into different distributions such as Red Hat and Kali, Debian, Ubuntu, other OSs that I'm obviously not thinking of. Go ahead and take a look at the most powerful Lite, Lite versions of Linux out there, and you could see some very, very, very good, I'm going to say very thorough versions of OSs without a large footprint. Like, for example, everyone loves Mint. Mint is pretty light. But it's not one of the lightest desktops out there. So now, how do we take advantage of Linux? So for those of you that are running Mac OS, and for those of you that are running Windows, how the heck why would you even care about Linux? Well, the more you know, right? Like that old public announcement, the more you know, the more stuff you know, the higher your expertise, likely you're going to land that job. Now, I once landed a job to help out an accountant's office, and I thought I was going to be hired to do one thing, but once I told him I really enjoyed computers and Windows, he hired me to be his Windows helper, to install Microsoft Windows computers. So you never know. You could be up for a job for a Windows admin, or it could be any other generic tech job like help desk. And then once you tell them Linux, then that could, even through conversation, that could open up the doors for you. So how can we enjoy Linux on your Windows machine or your Mac OS? Now, Windows does have the ability for you to load Linux through their proprietary system. Linux comes with Windows. You just have to enable it. However, companies like VMware, now through Broadcom, has been providing virtualized environments for years, and this is for both Windows and Mac. So virtualization allows you the ability to run different operating systems on your base host, on your host PC or laptop, as if they were just another application. The benefit of that is that you get to understand and know different OSs, and that can help you in the long run in terms of employment, or you get hired and you realize that maybe their budget isn't very good. So maybe you can revitalize one of their older PCs and throw a very light version of Linux on their PC, and boom, you now have the ability to have a web server, DHCP server, or even like a very light firewall through a program called IP chains. Whatever it is, I'd rather have knowledge of something than not knowledge of something. And in this, at least in the next coming weeks, you get a chance to try this out. And the other advantage of this being Python is that for all those that had issues with installing Python on their Windows, and even those that had issues with installing Python on Mac OS, for those Mac users and even for those Windows users, I will show you how to use the free program UTM to then download a Kali operating system ISO, again for free. In this way, you can have a virtualized Kali inside your Windows. Now, the good thing about Kali is that it is a flavor or distribution of Linux that is geared for exploitations and, I'm going to say, ethical hacking. So you can, or gray hat hacking, as they say. So this also helps you with your other curriculum, here at this school. So I'm going to show you a visualized map of where these virtualized, I guess you could say, machines reside on your host. So this is a visual guide to the world of this particular kind of virtualization. So when I say virtualized machine, each of these represent a possible virtualized operating system, and this would represent the host right here, this little triangle. So it's showing you that while the host exists and it can have any other applications such as Microsoft Word, depending on the host OS. Now, what I have here is bare metal server. So what I'm saying is there is an operating system on here. This represents an actual OS that could be anything from some Dell OS that is made to be a server, or it could be Windows Server, or it could be any flavor of Linux, anything from Red Hat to Ubuntu to Debian to any flavor of Linux that is considered a quote-unquote network operating system, and really they are. And this also includes desktop favorites from Windows, such as Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 11. So any desktop that you have rights that you can install programs like UTM or VMware, or there's VirtualBox. Any of them can potentially be a virtualized server. So all a virtualized server means is that you have a laptop or a computer and you install some sort of virtualization software such as VMware, UTM, or something, and then you install an OS, then you are a virtualized server. Now, Windows, of course, makes specific operating systems for this, such as Windows Server 2016 or something like that, and it actually comes with the ability to activate something called a virtualized layer right here, and on the virtualized layer will rest all of these. Now, you don't have to, there's no virtualized, and the other thing they might call it is a virtualized interface. So it all depends on the architect, but just know that whenever you install any program like UTM or VMware Fusion, depending on your host operating system, you are becoming a virtualized server, and that's really open to anyone that can go ahead and download the software and can install one of these OSs. Now, keep in mind there's a certain amount of, the only constraint is the power on your machine. So I wouldn't go ahead and even if you had a mid-grade computer, I wouldn't go ahead and install Windows 2016 or anything like that. I would stick with Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat, and Kali, and other ones, other Linux distributions like that. I'm just saying that if you were enterprise, you might be able to do Windows 2016 or whatever. Windows 2016 would likely be the host OS, but it doesn't have to be. Now, they do make Dell servers, of which the operating system is already meant. It's basically the server version of this virtualized interface or this layer right here, and it's meant to hold all of these. But if you're just running an old computer and you had Ubuntu or Debian running on it, I wouldn't go ahead and utilize Windows 2016 as a client. And just so you know, in terms of terminology, your host would be whatever this host OS would be, and these would represent your clients. So for this class, what we're doing is we are installing Kali on top of whatever existing OS that you have, and really for this class, all we're really needing is one client. All right, I will hopefully teach you how to install Kali on UTM for you Mac owners. And let's see, we have we go to the Kali.org website, and here are the installer images right here. We have virtual machines and installer images. Let's just go ahead and go directly to installer images. Here's the 64-bit. And for you Mac owners, we want to go to Apple Silicon. For you Mac owners that have the M1, M2, M3, Apple Silicon ARM64 is the way to go. Now, if you do not have a recent MacBook and you have a Intel base, you want to stick with 64-bit, but I have an M3 actually. As you can see, I'm going to be downloading the installer ARM64. And I'm going to pause the video so we can give it time to download. All right, let's go ahead and install the new virtual machine. And I did want to verify with everyone, if we go to my downloads, I have in fact fully downloaded the Kali Linux installer ARM64. And again, UTM is for Windows and it's for Mac, but for you Mac users, there are two distinct versions, the Intel version and those of you that have the Apple specific Silicon M1 through soon to be M4. Anyways, you have to, if you have an M1 through M4, you have to download the ARM64 version. Again, we're going to go to create new virtual machine. We're going to go to virtualize. We're going to go to other, and we're going to go to browsing the path, and we're going to go to downloads, and all we have to do is find the ISO, and here it is. We go to open, and we go to continue, and we're going to just use the defaults here. We're going to change this to 40, and then we're going to go to continue, and we're not going to worry about a shared directory path, and we're going to name this Kali. We can just do Kali Linux, and I think we are good. We're going to go to save, and now this is where you can see we tried to do this before. I'm just going to delete this. This is how you delete a prior installation right there. So now we're going to edit the Kali Linux. We're going to go to edit, right click and go to edit. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to new, and then we're going to click on serial, and then we're going to go to display, and then we're going to move up one to GPU PCI, and then we're going to save. And now we should be able to open and thus install it. So it starts the boot option and then install, and hopefully this will install it for you. We're just going to go through the defaults of the language installation and the keyboard output and making the username and password and such. I think I'm going to stop the video until we can get to that point. Okay, your instructor made a small mistake. Now, I tried installing this virtual machine and it got stuck in the opening. It opened, but there's nothing happened. So we have to go back into the display, and I had it on GPU PCI. We have to go back to RAM FBGL GPU supported. Make sure it's on that. And now we can start it, and we can see yet another window pops up here. And we can do graphical install, and that's not a big graphical install, but English, and then United States, English, and we can just go through all the defaults. Host name is Kali, and forget the domain name. Full name for new user, I will just put in my full name. And username for my account, I'm just going to go Kali. You know what? I will just do my first name, Jason. And I will choose a password, choose another password. Choose the same password, but they want you to re-enter it. And it's connecting to the network time server. So use entire disk, and that's 42.9 for the virtual block. That is the virtualized storage that it has reserved for this entire virtual server, and files all in one partition, and finish partitioning and write changes to disk. And we want to go to yes. It's unpacking the base system. And now I believe it'll ask us to install the additional software. But so far, this is just the unpacking the base image. Okay, now it wants us to install additional software. And then we will just accept all the defaults and go to continue. Okay, I will pause this until we come back after it installs all the software. All right, now it's saying installation is finally complete, and it says it's time to boot into your system, make sure you remove the installation media. Oh, this is what I had to do. Sorry about this. I'm going to see, this is the drive, so we need to clear this out. And I'm going to go ahead and restart. Okay, so I've cleared out the installation ISO out of the DVD driver, and now guess what? We are in Kali Linux. And I can get myself, I have my credentials right here, and get myself logged in. And I now have a freshly installed product. Now let's go ahead and just verify. I'm going to turn everything off. I'm going to log off, or I'm going to shut down. And just to familiarize with everyone, this is how we go back into Kali Linux once we install UTM and install Kali Linux as a VMware possible drive. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to enable it or play it or whatever it is, and then we're going to start it. And here we go. And let's log in with the same credentials. So the very first thing we want to do is go to a terminal. We do sudo apt update. And it's asking for a password. And it says 898 can be upgraded. So now we can say apt upgrade. Sudo apt upgrade, and ask to continue. We say yes, and it's going to upgrade all the packages, because between the time that this installer ISO was uploaded to the Kali website and now, it could have been a year or something like that, and between then and now there could be a bunch of updates and upgrades. So that's what we're doing now. I hope you enjoyed this video about how to install Kali onto your system, whether it be Windows or Mac. And if it's a Mac, whether it be Intel or M1 through M4, which is the ARM 64.